Vampire the Masquerade is part of White Wolf's World of Darkness setting, featuring the game previously mentioned and many more with similar naming schemes. On this channel, we'll probably be staying focused on VTM or Hunter the Reckoning, as in my opinion these are the two best titles of the universe. Vampire because it clearly is the most fleshed out and covers the most ground of playing whatever monster you could want, just with the addition of blood drinking. Every clan of vampires is different, and if you can think of it, there's a way to play it as a vampire. I made videos on clans Nosferatu, Zemise, and Toreador back in 2018 if you'd like a taste of how the clans tend to differ. Linked below is one edited together lore movie, and one of the first videos I uploaded to this channel. As for Hunter the Reckoning, growing up, I was a huge fan of the first 5 seasons of a show called Supernatural. Hunter the Reckoning is basically that, plus the cooler elements of universes like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, all with the fleshed out lore of World of Darkness, rather than the made-up on-the-spot writings of Eric Kripke. Just like with the making of your own vampire, there are a near limitless number of combinations to make your favorite monster hunter. Depending on how this video is received, I'll be delving deeper into this setting, but without further ado, let's begin. Grimdark. Half off! Think of life like a hallway to an apartment. You live in this apartment and you move through that hallway. Without realizing it, you've never met your landlord or any of your neighbors. When you come home from your latest 12-hour shift at your minimum wage job, you're exhausted. You have no time for a social life, romantic life, or really any life at all. You're kept inside a pen like a farm animal, on the same kind of well-regulated, out-of-your-control routine. If you ever met your landlord, you'd realize that this is a more literal metaphor than you could ever know, as pale dead flesh and sharp fangs are the last sight you see before death, or something close to it. Whether this is your first encounter with a member of the undead, or your embrace into becoming one, you've just had your true indoctrination into the world of darkness. This setting is one characterized by the concept of humans being much less intelligent, or at least having much less agency than in other settings, almost to a parody-like degree in many cases, as the real strings of society are pulled very often by the kindred children of the biblical Cain, known to us as vampires. The Greek warrior civilization of Sparta, Rome, and Carthage all had vampires pulling at strings, with mortals just along for the ride all the way up to the 20th century. The grand majority of Earth does not know these things, which is an element of the setting integral to its themes of secrecy, assassination, and dirty politics. This is one of the main reasons I and many others will always say that while it is lore-friendly to base a game in the current age, the further you get away from smartphones or spy satellites, the more natural the setting will feel. Whether that's the early 2000s with the Nosferatu-founded ShriekNet, you have a secret dark web for vampires, or going as far back as the Dark Ages, which there's a totally separate game for, is up to you. Within vampire societies, there are many factions which are somewhat parallels to our own real-world political ideologies. This is where I feel a lot of people get far too invested in bringing their real-world views into the game. You see it all too much, and it's sadly a reality of the modern age. Remember, this isn't your preferred political ideology. This is that ideology if it was run by bloodthirsty parasites who want to kill your entire family and enslave you while also being so foul that they carry a curse from heaven to burn alive in the sun. It's almost always going to be the most evil version of whatever the ideology is. The primary culture of vampires is best represented by the Camarilla, which is the most straightforward evolution of vampire society. They embrace a philosophy of strict hierarchy ruled over by the official title of a prince, which can be male or female despite the title and does not have to be related to the last prince. Their strict protocols have to do with their invention of the Masquerade. This is a set of laws, rules, and guidelines created to better hide vampires from humanity. A good example, as demonstrated in the LA by Night campaign presented by Geek and Sundry, would be the banning of smartphones if your game takes place in such an age. The Camarilla is in all respects except lineage a dark parody of monarchy, where everything and everyone is technically owned by the prince and privacy is a joke. Opposing this group would be the self-described Sword of Cain, known as the Sabbat. They believe that vampires should rule proudly over mortals as superior beings, and that the Masquerade is merely an insult to their existence and a betrayal of their originator, who they believe will bring about an apocalypse called Gehenna, which they actively try to kickstart through a holy war. If instead of a dark parody of monarchy, you'd prefer a dark parody of religious traditionalism in general, these guys are for you, as their leaders are literally called ductus, or pack priests. Last of the factions we'll be going over today are the fairly new Anarchs, who are just my favorite group because they have no idea what they want to be, yet at the same time are the ones most directly involved with taking on real-world political ideologies. And this has a lot to do with a lot of them being Clan Bruja, but we'll get into the clans later. They're general anti-authoritarian anarchists who, while agreeing with the Masquerade on principle, as it increases their freedom to not be known, want control over each of their own lives. In the same way that a Camarilla territory is ruled by a prince, an anarch leader is called a baron, which literally just means landowner. They say they have no idea what they want to be because they range from ANCAP to ANCOM or ANPRIM. As long as the AN is there, I don't think they really care, which is also a good way of describing many of them. This, of course, is only in relation to their views of vampire society, so they can still be authoritarians in relation to their views of human politics. As well, the same way a farmer can be the ruler of his animals, but then publicly be like, well, I want control over my land. And that's a good way to think of it. It's very fun. They're a very flexible group, so there's a lot of variety for roleplay, is what I would say. Of course, you also have to apply the fact that these are blood-sucking monsters, and while the Camarilla put a cap on what circumstances you're allowed to kill humans in due to its risk to the Masquerade, the Anarch's view of personal freedom gives you no level cap on killing mortals, except for what you can't dispose of body-wise, as well as letting you engage freely in terrorist activity relating to any personal causes you may have taken up. And again, this is also so long as it doesn't violate the Masquerade, you just go blow up a building. I don't know. Regardless of what faction they side with, they all fear attracting human hunters. Like we said before the video started, these come in a variety of flavors, from the Special Affairs Department of the U.S. government, Ghostbuster-style hunters, magically imbued warriors of faith, or secret societies like the Society of Leopold, also known as the Second Inquisition. There is simultaneously everything and nothing to say about being a hunter character in the World of Darkness setting. Do you want to be a hillbilly with a grudge? Do it. You want to have a long backstory involving lore from one of the other World of Darkness games like Mage the Ascension? You can do that too. Personally, I really want to recreate Inquisitor Eisenhorn from the Warhammer 40k universe. My patience is limited, unlike my authority. Whatever you do, just remember, blank bodies aren't people. That's all I have to say for this video, and I hope you enjoyed it. Tell me what parts of the universe you'd like me to cover in the comments below. This is certainly a setting close to my heart, as it has a lot of rarely used potential for great storytelling, but in the hands of someone who knows what they're doing, it always comes out as amazing in terms of its, I don't know, representation of horror, personal horror, which is what Vampire the Masquerade is supposed to be, and incredible uphill battles, which if you know my videos on Conan, that's why I love that universe, so Hunter the Reckoning would be great for that. Join the Discord if you want, linked below. Donate if you also can, linked below. But if not, you know, you calm down. You can still subscribe and like. Those are both very free. You can subscribe and you can like. You do that. You do that. You subscribe. You like. You know, I'm going to do the YouTube thing because, see, the YouTube Studio app gives us access to statistics, which make us very depressed because we realize that most people don't actually subscribe to YouTube channels. They just look up videos on things and are like, oh, that's nice. I guess I don't want more of this, so I'm not going to subscribe. It just doesn't make any sense. You subscribe, you're happier, you're better off. This is the world of subscribing. The world of subscribing is one where you're happier. It's a world of light. We talked about the world of darkness. Subscribing, it's a world of light. Go subscribe. Okay, have a great day.